Vernomatic Productions.
Are you ready?
Live from the Metal Mayhem Studios in Rochester, New York.
We are gold. We are gold.
And heard around the world by metalheads just like you. This is Metal Mayhem ROC.
Heavy metal music.
Your weekly dose of metal music, interviews, album reviews, news, and more. Want to be part of the show? Send us a message through our website, metalmayhemroc.com, or hit us up on Facebook and Twitter. Search Metal Mayhem ROC.
It's getting nice and heavy.
Now, welcome our hosts, John the Vernomatic Verno, and direct from New Jersey, Metal Walt.
Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well, staying healthy. Well, here we are, Memorial Day weekend 2025. Weather's fantastic. I'm excited. Have some time off of work. Metal Walt, how are you, man? You're getting excited. You got that beach house down in the Jersey Shore.
Well, it's the unofficial start of summer in my family, but we go to the family beach house. But to kick it off on Friday, we're going to do a detour to Philadelphia to see 72 Seasons, Metallica at Lincoln Field.
We're very lucky, you and I. We spent the last 2 summers seeing them in New York, seeing them in Boston last year. I saw them up in Syracuse about a month ago, and you're getting your bookend up in Philly. So, but on this one, you're trading me in and you're taking your wife, Anna. Is she getting excited about all this?
She is, and she's going to have a brand new Metal Mayhem ROC t-shirt she'll be sporting to help co-promote the brand. Her and I will be co-promoting the brand.
Where'd she get that t-shirt?
Well, the ladies like to shop, as we know. And there's an Etsy page for our listeners, Metal Mayhem ROC. We have all kinds of great stuff, shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, swag, lots of cool things, and new stuff continues to come by the day.
Yeah, get up to our website, metalmayhemroc.com, and check that out. So let's check this out. You got a cool interview tonight. You've been on a roll, man. What do you got this week?
So to carry on with the American tradition of Memorial Day weekend, I got landed a guest, Mark Farner, the legendary and storied frontman and guitarist of Grand Funk Railroad. Now, John, this one, I went deep on it. I got to know Mark on a personal level. And this ties perfectly way into the weekend because it's about him. Listen, his parents worked in factories during World War II. His father fought in World War II. His father tragically got killed after he became a firefighter in a train accident. His mother raised him when he was only 9. She worked in factories on tanks. But man, you talk about somebody who was American pride on his sleeves. He's all about the military. He's all about the veterans. He's all about the community spirit. When I had spoken to him, he was just combating those ice storms up in Michigan in April. He was talking about his farm and his barn and the neighbors helping out each other and his spiritual faith. This guy's been around for a long, long, long time, and he continues to do it. And as he says it best, John, he goes, I don't buy by the creed of Republican or Democrat. I'm an American true and true. But not only do we get into, just the personal side of Mark, but then there's the musical side. He's got a great new album out that he's promoting. And we go back 50 plus years and talk some of the best Grand Funk memories from Closer to Home, the new version he does, the infamous Shea Stadium. And he even comments on the strain between his former bandmates that carry that band name forward. It's a good one. It's a personal one.
This interview, it didn't really need a lot of editing. I just sort of mixed it down. And so I really haven't heard it that much. So I'm going to listen to this weekend, and I hope everyone enjoys it, the Memorial Day weekend. We mentioned the Etsy page at the website. While you're up there, sign up for the newsletter, get alerts on everything we're doing here, podcasts, YouTube interviews, alerts for the radio show. And if you dig what we're doing here, leave us a review wherever you're listening to it. Subscribe to the pod, and that will help other metalheads find out what we're doing here. So Metal Walt, enjoy the Metallica concert. Enjoy that beach house. Spend some well-earned time with your family and stay healthy. For Metal Walt, I'm the Vernomatic, and we are Metal Mayhem ROC. Happy holidays, everyone.
Today's guest is an American treasure, singer, songwriter, and guitarist Mark Farner. So Mark joins us today to discuss his new Closer to My Home album and his storied career as frontman of Grand Funk Railroad and as a solo artist. So Mark, how are you?
I'm proud to be sucking air, Walt.
Well, that's good. Me too. So, hey, I'm located in Jersey. Our weather's been up and down like this. It's cold, it's hot, it's rainy and windy, but I heard you got hit really bad with some ice storms in Michigan. Hopefully everything's back on track now, right?
Well, we got neighbors that they're not going to have power till the end of May. I mean, that's a long time out. Some remote people that I know, we got power on day 9, but we were running on a diesel generator that we had in place here. The worst part about it is the plantation pines that my wife and I have been grooming for 40 years. Since here. Yeah, they're gone. Thousands of pine trees, Norway pines. But we thank God that it didn't hit our house, brother. It didn't. It hit one of the barns. A big tree came down, broke 8 rafters in the ceiling of the barn, but nothing came through to land on, the farm equipment that was inside. So, hey, we're still sucking air, like I said, and I'm proud of that. We got work to do. We got a lot of friends that are helping us, and we're going to have some more work bees. But it's kind of brought us together, because it's so devastating that people haven't really experienced this. And with all the political BS, son, I'm kind of glad to have people relying on one another now. It's changed all of that, and it's not so much the political satire that was being thrown around. I'm for one to get rid of that stuff. I mean, all that does is separate us as a nation, man. We are supposed to be all for one and one for all. That flag puts down every other nationality, puts it under the peace and the freedom that flag brings all of us who live under it.
Amen, Mark. You've had such an incredible journey in music. Now, you played a semi-acoustic show in New Jersey a couple summers ago, and I was in attendance at it.
All right.
And I remember a line that you told the audience that stuck with me. And here we are almost 3 years later, and I get a chance to ask you about it. So you said, "I'm not a Republican or a Democrat, but I'm an American." And Mark, those words stuck with me. So listen, you grew up in Michigan, son of a World War II veteran and a career fireman, and your mother was of Cherokee heritage. So, what my first question is how did your parents' work ethic and upbringing shape your eventual pursuit into a musical career? And in general, maybe as a family guy?
Yeah, it's my dad died when I was 9 years old, 1957. My dad died in a car train wreck. Him and a fellow fireman were killed instantly when the train broadsided him at a crossing, had no lights. But that changed my life. That was a big change. And my mother, 2 years later, had married a guy that was working in the shop, a skilled tradesman at the stamp and frame, that where all of the Blazers and the Tahoes and back then it was the Suburbans and the trucks, and it was this town where we were had a lot of friends that were all shop rats, and we say it lovingly, Walt. That shop rats is a good thing, It did. They got a job and they're making money and they're putting food on the family's table. But it shaped my career to see my mother stick with it and come back. And she had 6 kids to take care of. So, my stepdad right up to the plate, man, bellied up, and let's go, let's get this done. And we had a lot of friends that were, work ethic, making a go of it, and having a good time. We never forgot to have a good time. We would vacation, go up north in Michigan, where when you get about to Bay City, the smell of the air changes, and you start smelling the pines, and you start smelling the fresh water, that clean, nice, pure, pristine water that's in the lakes up here, and that helped me spiritually as well, because it kind of, it's forecasted in some of my music and the lyrics of where I live, and you know and what my mom had to endure, and she had to contend with, and she did it in a great way, because all of us who are still living revere her as somebody very special. She's been gone 25 years, but we still have that love for mom in our hearts, and it comes out in the records even. She was a great singer. Great singer. My God, that girl could sing. And the whole family's got music in us. And when we would have these jam sessions on Sundays, every Sunday, it was either at our house, which was my great grandfather had built this house. It was an 11-room farmhouse with a great big dining room. And that's where everybody would gather, and they would play the instruments, and there would be food everywhere. And Southern fried chicken and hockey puck dumplings, man, and sloppy joes. And
Rocky Puck dumplings. I've never heard that, but that sounds cool.
yeah, that's what they looked like. And they were kind of, they weren't puffed up like a biscuit. They were just dough, and, about like that thick, and that big. Grandma would cut them with a glass or a tin can and cut them out and float them in the Southern fried chicken gravy. Man, it was good. When it come to belly cheating, we knew how.
Sounds like it. It sounds delicious. You taught me a couple new terms about some of the meals. So, Mark, you also are referred to as a rock patriot for honoring our nation's service personnel and the veterans. It's something you've carried in your lyrics for 50 plus years. But why is this so important for you, both on a personal and a professional level?
Well, personally, because all my dad's brothers, there was 4 of them. Everybody was in the service. My Uncle Garland, my Uncle Woody, everybody was in World War II. And a lot, and thankful that they made it alive through it and came home. Very grateful. And that was, it was talked about frequently. And I think because of, my pride in the fact that my dad served, and that my mother was the first woman in the United States to weld on Sherman tanks at Fisher Body in Flint, Michigan. And to see the picture of her in the Flint Journal standing on a Sherman tank with her helmet tipped back. She had her striker in the right hand and her left hand like, come on. It was something that sticks in my heart, not only in my memory, but to have that kind of pride that the whole family got behind this country and helped to make it what it is today. And to say that I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, that I'm an American, brother, I'm serious. I think that the political parties tear us apart. I think that it's just bullshit that we should be standing together under that flag and not let anybody mess with us. We get into the spats and the crazy stuff that goes on, and things that are said that are just insane for an American to say. And I have to stay with what I know to be true and what I know is good. And all the Democrats and Republicans that I knew growing up got along great, dude. Great. There wasn't any of this crap that mainstream has pushed it, all of these mainstream stations. And some of the underground even has got it, where they're throwing mud at each other. And I mean, terrible things that they say. But that is not who we are as Americans, man. That is not going to make us strong. It's not going to make us strong. What's going to make us strong is for us to stand together and cast that stuff down. There's a lot of evil things that have been said, but we got to cast down the thoughts that would raise themselves up against the knowledge that you and I are talking about, Brother Walt. And that is that we are under this flag and we love this flag. We are here because of the freedom it brings us. In this, we need to rejoice in and put everything else aside. Let's get back together.
I hear you, man. And you know what? We're going to talk a lot about your new album in a bit, but just the cover itself on your album, talking about these, nasty storms you got out there. But look at that beautiful picture, which I assume is your property, the barn with the gigantic American flag on the side. What an image of that's Americana in a nutshell right there, brother.
Yeah, that isn't my farm. That's an artist that worked on the album cover, brought that in. And you know what I saw, Walt? I saw, like it's a beautiful flag on the end of the barn. It's Americana because it's, turn of the century barn. It's still standing. But you look towards the back of the barn, you see some of the roof is kind of caving in a little bit. You can see some of the rafters through the shingles a little bit. And up above, those aren't the nice, beautiful clouds. There's some storm clouds in there. There's some gray clouds, not all perfect little. I think it was very representative of our country, and that we really need to take a look at what you and I have been talking about since you click the record button, and I think people are ready to put the things aside, put our differences aside, man. We can only get stronger if we do.
Metal Mayhem ROC.
You've spoken a lot about your faith as being a guiding force in your life and in the music. So maybe what was the turning point in your life that made you embrace it so closely? And how have your beliefs influenced your career choices?
Well, when I was 9 years old, when my dad died, that big dining room that I was talking about in the farmhouse, there was a lot of relatives in there, and they were consoling my mother. They were, giving her the love and support that family does, when you lose somebody. And I just walked out of there because at 9 years old, I was like, I just couldn't take all of the crying and all of the, I wanted to get away from that. And just before my dad died, he bought the first television set that we ever had. Up until that point, we were listening to the radio, Walt. We had a great big wooden radio, a vacuum tube, radio, and we'd listen to the Lone Ranger and the Creaking Door and Flash Gordon, and it was like, and we'd sit there, and the mothers would pop these grocery bags full of popcorn, and us kids are like stuffing our faces with popcorn, and our imaginations are like going with these words. There was a video running in each kid's head of what was being said, and that was some great times. I'm glad I lived through that so I could have a comparison of what it's like to have an imagination like that got me going. It got my imagination cranked up, and I'm a songwriter that uses part of that. But I walked into the living room where the TV was going, and Billy Graham was in Flint, Michigan at Atwood Stadium down on 3rd Avenue, and he was doing a revival there. And as I walk in and I look to my left where the TV is, he said, "Are you hurting?" And I got tears running down my face, and I'm going, 9 years old. I'm thinking, can he see me? Do you need a touch from God? And I'm thinking, holy shit, this guy can see me, you know. And then he says, come over and put your hand on the television set. So I walked over there, dude. I put my hand on the television set and I prayed and I asked Jesus Christ to come into my heart. I needed some change, man. I needed some healing and I needed something different than what was going on in the dining room. I just really couldn't go there. I was not ready to accept that. But I believe that was like my first real outreach from my heart for something that was, you know, it comes by hearing and hearing by the word of God, but faith is the evidence of things not seen and the substance of things hoped for. It's part of what makes me who I am, and I can't shake it. You know, I can't shake this faith. It's not just, I mean, you know, I went to church with my great grandmother who would take us on Easter or on, you know, some other holiday. But I never did get into church much because this church that we went to as we were kids, they, they were taking the kids someplace in a bus, in the church bus. And the pastor gets on the bus and he tries to grab this kid that's making all this commotion in the front seat. And he hollered out, and hey, Johnny, and he goes to grab him, and the kid goes down under the seat, and he starts crawling towards the back. Then the pastor goes to the next seat, and he tries to grab him, and he just misses him. He goes to the next seat, and he just misses him. This goes all the way to the back of the bus. And that pastor said, Johnny, God damn it. And it was like every kid on that bus went, oh, because we thought, you know, that was some taboo stuff you don't say. And I'm thinking, this is the pastor of this church. I didn't know too much about church. I was just a kid, but I did know that guy had some issues with anger. And so I kind of take church with a grain of salt. Even though when my wife, in 1982, my wife walked, and she was overridden with things. I would go out on the road and she was taking care of the kids. She was just, too much on her. And anyways, long story short, I went back to church. This is 1982. But I went to this church where it was all hellfire and brimstone. I got up and I walked out of there. I said, this ain't, he ain't here. This ain't God. This ain't God. I went to like 4 or 5 different churches. And finally I got into this church. There was like an 84-year-old man up there preaching. And he started preaching on the institution of marriage and how people walk out the front door of the church and they leave all of the things that they said to each other behind. They walk out of the church, and that was only a ceremony that was for the inside of the church, because when they're out of the church, they're back in the world, and it was like, man, this dude he had a gun and he was shooting. And there was no blanks in that gun, man. He was hitting my heart with all of this stuff. And I'm thinking, oh, my God, is that what I did? I walked out of the church and I didn't really implement the thing. So when he gave an altar call, I ran up there, man. And I said, dude, get my wife back. Will you pray to get my wife back? I said, I feel like God wants me to have my wife back. He says, I'll tell you what, you pray and I'll agree. So I looked at him and I just prayed in like how we're talking, dude. And I asked God to bring my wife back. And that day, I can't even tell you how this hit my heart. But that day, 50 miles away in another city, my wife gave her life to Jesus Christ. And since then, we have been mending. We have been getting better. We've been together 47 years now, Walt. And the the thing about it is that it has to be forgiveness in any relationship. Then you have the exercise of love. You have the exercise of love. Love is defined with one word, forgiveness. And if you can't find that, then you better just, look elsewhere. If you can't find forgiveness. And that's really, it's in me. It's in my heart to forgive with the same measure that I've been forgiven with, and that I expect to be forgiven with. And if I expect to be forgiven with that measure, I better be willing to exercise that same measure of love towards other people, because love is forgiveness and forgiveness is love. It brings a spiritual awakening within you if you can embrace it, if you can find it, if you can really take into consideration that you're not going to live forever on this earth. You've got an expiration date as human beings. Dude, I got one. I ain't been able to find it. I got one though. It's on my body or someplace. But we all expire. We all pass out of these bodies. The bone suit is just a temporary place that we squat inside of, and then we go on back home. I died. I can talk freely about this because I passed from this physical body into the spirit realm, and over there in heaven, because it was like, man, it was, as soon as I left my bone suit, I knew all things. All things. I even, on the other side, in that tense of being, I knew the purpose of the earth years that you and I are living right now, brother. I knew the purpose of them. I couldn't bring that back in with me. I don't know what it is. I know what it is when I'm on the other side and in that state of being, without the burden, the cumbersome burden of this bone suit and the life that we are sustaining in here. But I'm telling you something, we have to understand that we are only here for a while. We have to get along. We have to learn how to forgive and how to love each other, and how to team up for our kids, for the world, for those who are looking for role models. We got to show them that kind of love. They ain't going to find it on TV. They're not going to find it in some damn video game where they're chopping heads and swords and slashing, and all that does is get them ready to go in the Army or the Navy or the Marine, wherever. We got to get them ready for heaven.
Yeah. Well, Mark, that's an amazing perspective. You're a guide and an inspiration, and really, really appreciate you opening up your heart to me on that. So, listen, the new album, Closer to My Home, fast forward 55 plus years later, and here you are releasing new music, still out there playing shows, still kicking ass, still singing great, still playing great guitar, loud, and with your signature sound. But having, let's say, released, I don't know, 20 something albums between Grand Funk and as a solo artist, and God knows how many guest appearances you've made through the years, what gets you inspired to say, you know what, Mark, I got something to say out there. I have a story to tell, and I want to make new music. What's your motivation?
That's what it is, Walt. You just said it, brother. It's within. And I believe so intently in what I'm saying and what I'm doing. I believe that I'm preserved at the age of 76 to be able to sing the songs that I sang back when I was just a kid, 20 years old. I'm singing them in the same keys. But if it ever got to where I couldn't hit my notes, if it ever got to where my hearing got so bad that I couldn't sing in tune, I want somebody to tell me, hey, because I don't want to suck, dude. I want to get up there and rock my ass off. I want to rock the people. I want to rock them into an awakeness, a state of being fully aware of what's going on and embracing this same love that it's not just for me. It ain't just for me. It's for everybody. And the key to it is to release our own self from any kind of indebtedness. And then when we do that, we set ourselves free. We can set others free. That's real love. That's if you're coming from that place, man, you're headed in the right direction.
Well, absolutely. So, Mark, you collaborated with Mark Slaughter of the 80s rock band Slaughter on this album. That caught me like, I raised my eyebrows a little. I said, oh, Mark Slaughter, wow. But apparently you guys recorded it at his studio in Tennessee. So just talk a little about like how and why this collaboration came about and like what did he bring to the table?
Well, it came about when we were at a rock and roll fantasy camp, New York City. David Fishoff, who runs the camp, owns the camp, came to me and he said, Howard Stern wants you to come over and do I'm Your Captain on his show this afternoon. I said, really? And I said, does he want me to do it like acoustic guitar or what? He said, no, man. He said, take the fantasy band, which it was Kip Winger on bass, Sandy Gennaro on drums from Joan Jett's band, Teddy Zigzag from Guns N' Roses on the keyboard. We had Bruce Kulick on acoustic guitar, Mark Slaughter on second, me on first, and we went in there and we rocked it. Man, those guys are great guys. They all love my music. They're all big fans of mine, and they're younger guys, you know. But they did it like the record, and Slaughter was singing. I had my cans off. I took the cans off because I got to be in touch with the musicians, with where it's coming from. This putting it on my ears, it isolates me too much. So, anyways, I got my cans off. They're just hanging there. And I'm listening to Slaughter sing, and I'm listening to Kip Winger, man. Those two guys, wow, they can sing their asses off. And they're doing the harmony to I'm Your Captain, man. I was so thrilled to have that opportunity with those guys, and that came up, it was just something that I love. It's like a trophy. I got it on my wall of my heart that I got to play with these guys, and Howard Stern loved that performance, man. He was like, more, yeah, it was great. It was a great experience. But during that time in the green room, I'm talking because I'm warming up my, before you go out and play, I do anyways, I got to warm up my hand. So I'm warming my hands up. I'm playing. And I start playing this riff. And Slaughter walks over and goes, what is that you're playing? I said, it's a song called Oh Darling. He said, I'd like to work on that song with you. And here it is, how many years later? 6 years later, and we do Oh Darling on this record. It was like, it was meant to be. And to have worked with him, he is a humble guy, very humble. I love him. It's hard not to love him. It would be hard not to love this guy. He is such a giving, honest soul. He's part Native American as well. And that part, we both agree that it is our strong suit within us, that we have a compassion and a love for the land, for what we believe in, and for what the Great Spirit has given us as a quest as men here in this place. And to work with him musically, he's got chops, man. He's spiritual. He's very spiritual in his playing and his understanding. We're doing a take, and it was Oh Darling. We're doing a take, and all of a sudden, you hear this roar, and he goes, "Oh shit!" I said, "What?" He says, "UPS truck. We have to do that over again." So he goes He goes out to the UPS truck. The UPS driver hands him this box. He comes in, Walt. He opens the box. It's an electric 12-string guitar. He plugs it in. He plugs it in, tunes it up, hits go on the recorder, and he's playing into the song. He said it got here just in time for this. And that's kind of how things were happening. You just kind of accept it as being, hey, that worked. And it was like that working with him. It's like we were supposed to do that. We are still great friends. He no longer lives in Tennessee. He moved up the New Hampshire way, where his wife is from, and he's setting up right now. He's getting set up, and I've been in contact with him. I've sent him a couple of new tunes that I've been working on, and some great stuff. It's got great message, and all of this stuff that I'm working on, including the album that you and I are talking about right now. It is not in the American tuning standard of A440. The tuning standard was switched in 1953 from 432 to 440 by Rockefeller. John D. Rockefeller changed it in 53. I cannot find out the reason why, but I'll bet you dollars to donuts. It's something dark, because 440 is out of whack with natural things. 432 is in perfect tune with the water of this earth, with natural things. It doesn't, you play 432 over a body of water, over a little kiddie pool, and it'll be like glass, even at 125 decibels. The threshold of pain is 90 decibels, so 125 is pretty rocking. You play A2 at 440. At 440, it puts chop on that water. It's waves and foam and froth, and it's just agitated. Think about that. That's frequency hitting that water. And what are we? 70% water, brother. I don't want stuff. I don't want stuff beating on me with punching gloves. I want the fingers of love to come into my heart and massage me into a good mood.
There you go. So Mark, your lead track, Anyone, it's your single, right?
Yeah.
You reference your old band with the lines, "It's not the quantity, it's the honesty, my friends. That's where the story ends. I'm not angry with them anymore." So why did you decide to include the narrative in this song?
It was Slaughter, because I had been talking to him about how things are. And I told him, I said, I forgive those guys. It's terrible what they did, because it's dishonest. Even though it's legal, that 2/3 of a corporation can outvote 1/3, even though that 1/3, me, wrote 94% of the songs, I could get voted out and get voted down because of a legality of the corporation. And as I said, it might be legal, but how honest is it? How honest is that for somebody to go out? And there's so many bands that are out that, they advertise themselves. These guys with the various bands advertise themselves with the name of the original band, and but they don't give any kind of a public statement about who out of that original band is still alive and still with them or still playing with them. So that was Slaughter. That he says, I hear you talking about this, and he says you should put that in here. He came up with the second verse is mostly his words coming back to me He said, I hear it from you. That's what you're. I said, hey, man, that's what it's supposed to be because I really do. And I think this is a perfect spot to say it. I'm disappointed that somebody would do something like that. Who wouldn't be disappointed? Even though, the Bible says to stay out of the courts, it's just really a waste of our time. And it's really, involving yourself in worldly discourse that takes you away from the love that we're supposed to be exercising. And so I have to, give Mark the credit for that second verse, but it is my heart, and he brought it out of me, and he brought so much else out of me too. I mean, just being close to him and trusting him, to trust somebody, brother, to trust somebody. Wow, that's a real. You've gone someplace if you can trust somebody. If you can really trust somebody, you got something. You got a treasure, dude. If you can trust somebody.
Well, it sounds like you got a good friend there.
Yeah.
My favorite track on the album is Real. It's groovy, it's heavy, it's bluesy. Just love that guitar riff there. But just the lyric, I'm real. I tell you how I feel. When I speak to the common man. So again, you've always worn your heart in your sleeve, both in music and life. But have there ever been any times where being so open maybe has worked against you?
Yeah, and it has, and even to the point of maybe getting in trouble with other people. But I have to, because I have to be true to myself. I can't let some indebtedness creep into my being. I got to stay free, and the only way I can stay free is to say free, with my mouth. It's gotten me in trouble, yeah, because this world is crooked as a pan of guts. The people running this world, you think about it, right from the get-go, Walt, dude, you know what, that Federal Reserve note that I got in my pocket, it's worth whatever those people who print it, whatever their lying ass mouths say it's worth, because it's the scam of all scams. Those banksters who own the Federal Reserve, the European central banks, and the Bank of England are really the governments of this world. And we're at war with each other because they finance it. They want it. They don't want us having peace. They're insane with the lust for power and blood. And because how many times have you heard, oh, they're going to whittle down on the Earth's population. There's too many people on the Earth. The Earth can't sustain any more people. We got to, come out and talk to us. They issue the currency to 189 countries, man. And wherever they issue the currency, they own the media. And so if they own the media, they control the narrative in most of the world. Some people have said to me, I have friends in Russia. I've got friends all over this world that they're going, how the hell did this happen? This COVID thing, it was like, bam, it was worldwide instantaneously. Well, when you own the ability to spread a narrative and it's worldwide, guess what's going to happen? And those people, I'm telling you, that's the darkness of this world. They rule the darkness. They're wicked people. They tell us that the money that we got in our pocket, that we have to go earn this money, that they push a button and the machine spits it out. What do they know about money? They know they got control of the world because they got us believing in their bullshit. Bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, your music has always carried messages of unity and resilience. So aside from the song Real, what song on the new album do you think is most relevant in today's world. I have my opinion. I think there's one song that says it all on the album, but I want to hear your answer.
Surveilling us. That the final three words are where my heart is. Stop surveilling us. Who's so frightened that they got to keep track of every move, every person? They got to be threatening, got to be putting all this stuff. They own Hollywood, so they can make all these movies of how afraid we need to be, and all these monsters that are coming, and all this outer space, and just a bunch of hogwash. It comes from some sick minds that want to control, but I see them for who they are. My eyes are wide open, and I have to stay with my heart, brother. I don't like the pressure it's put on people, and I see how it's caused people to go in to their shell, or to be so outward spoken and in hate, in hatefulness. Hate. I got a tree in my backyard. I'd string that son of a bitch up. I'm going, wow, this come out of a guy's mouth. I can't go there. Because I'm not a Democrat and I'm not a Republican. I'm not going to go there. But you hear a lot of that. That's got to be quelled. That's got to be flattened. Now you got to play that in 4-3-2, man. Don't let that 440 get you all riled up.
All right, I'm going to remember that. So my guess on your question, I said same game because that was all about the politics in the media. So I'll say that's a close tie too.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Same game.
Yeah. So, Mark, there's a lot of great songs on the album. You close the album out with "I'm Your Captain," closer to home. You re-recorded this for this album. It's a great version. I mean, it's awesome. I'm not going to lie. But why did you decide to do this?
Because the original version was in 440, which is out of sync with the universe. 432 is in sync with the universe, and just use that word picture, Walt, of the little kiddie pool. I saw this thing. It was a link that somebody sent me. It was all agitated. I saw the proof. This was before I knew anything about what I was looking at, but I could see the waves and the froth, and it was a storm in that pool. Then he played the same note, A2, at 125 decibels, and it was flat. It was embraced by that frequency. Anything played in 432 is going to reach deeper into the soul of people, and that's what I had to do with my song. I wanted it to be the best frequency for people. It was the best back in 71, and the returning Vietnam veterans that told me they got on the boat and they started playing "I'm Your Captain," as soon as it would quit, Walt, they would start it again, and they played it all the way home. And these guys were getting off the boat, getting down on their hands and knees and kissing the ground. Man. The words meant a lot to them. And now with those words that mean so much, with now being played at 432 in the right frequency, I hope that people get it. I hope that people because it was never a video of that song. It's always been for the individual, what that individual sees in their own mind, within their own imagination. That's what that song means to them. And it can be 1,000 different things to 1,000 different people. It's a beautiful thing. In 432, man, it's going to be a great picture.
So
hearts.
Mark, was that song actually, did it come from a dream? Is that true?
Yes, it came. I woke up in the middle of the night after I had prayed. It wasn't like I woke up and said, "Oh, here's the answer to my prayer." I didn't know it was because I write stuff all the time, Walt. I got a steno pad and a pen next to my bed where I can set up and jot down whatever that thought is because I've lost a lot of thoughts thinking I was going to remember them in the morning and I would, pursue the song, but I lost every good song. I lost some of the best songs. Oh my God. So anyways, that's what happened. I got up and I sat on the bed. I was in my conscious state. I was between heaven and earth, somewhere in between there. And I start writing. And it just kept coming and coming and coming and coming. And when I get down to the last of it, I went, holy shit, man. I put this steno pad back on the nightstand and I roll back under the sheet. I was spent. There was no more energy in me. It was a great place to be. But when I got up in the morning and I had my coffee and I'm looking at the horses out in the pasture, I grabbed my acoustic guitar out of the stand. I started playing, bop, 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 doo, 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 doo. It was like, wow, what is that? And then I hit some chords and then in my mind went, hey, those words in the other room, the words in the bedroom. I'll go get them and put the words on the table. I hit the record button on the little Sony cassette recorder. You remember the cassette recorder?
I got a Sony cassette recorder right over here to my left.
That's great.
An old Iowa deck from the early to mid 80s. Still works.
Good stuff. Oh, yeah, man. Guaranteed.
So now, Mark, I've always been curious about this as well. Obviously bands don't set out to write hits, but in 1970 or 71, I mean, to release a 10-minute song as a single, like, wow, totally like way out there. Like, you guys had to have some balls to do that. Like, what was the deciding factor to do it that way?
Well, the deciding factor was when I had written the song and I was in Cleveland, Ohio. We were doing the Upbeat show, which was a regional show that kind of like a dance, they would play music and some artist would be there. James Brown, Mitch Ryder and the Detroit Wheels, Otis Redding, a lot of the bands back then. And then they would have these dancers dancing around on platforms and everything. And it was like, and they had a local band, or the guy who was the band leader for the Upbeat show. Hey, let's go with the Upbeat show. Dop, dop, down, down, down. He's blowing his trumpet. Tommy Baker, he did all of the orchestration for I'm Your Captain and also on E Pluribus Funk, Loneliness, the song Loneliness. He did all of the orchestration for both songs. And he told me, he says, Mark, man, when you get to that last chorus, that last outro, he said, just keep going. Go over and over and over. And when you think you can't do another bar, give me 10 more. And I'm going, all right, dude. And so before we started recording this, Walt, I tell the guys, I said, remember, Tommy said he wants it to go on and on and on. So let's keep it going. Give him a place to stretch out because that boy can stretch out. Man, what an imagination. What a great creation he made within that song. And once it was laid down and we saw, how great it was, the progression and the emotional journey that you go on, what a great place to let your mind imagine and you would have the sense of, oh man, this is gonna, the music is bringing these word pictures into our mind, into our imagination. And he did it in such a way, man, that it just it had to be told. That story had to be told 10 minutes long.
Did you ever get a chance to talk to Homer Simpson about it?
That was great. I didn't, I never watched The Simpsons. I don't watch TV, period. I just don't. I don't turn the radio on when I'm going down the road in the car. I don't. I just don't. I'm trying to stay in this sense of creativity and creating music, and I'm listening for the next hit, brother. So when we opened that show in at Pine Knob in outside of Detroit, Michigan, and here we got 30,000 people up on the lawn, and I'm standing backstage ready to go on, and all of a sudden they run that clip, and there's Homer talking about the shirtless lyrics and the bong rattling bass of Mel Shocker and the competent drumming of Don Brewer. It was like, oh my God. And the audience was loving it, dude. I'm telling you, it was like, all right, I guess we've made it. If we're Homer Simpson's favorite band.
Oh yeah, man. You can't go wrong with Homer Simpson. Well, Mark, this has been an
man.
awesome time, but I got to ask you a couple more questions about your back history, the early days of Grand Funk. Listen, everybody knows that the name of the band came from, it was a play on the Grand Trunk Western Railroad. But my question
Yes.
to you was, as a kid, did you ever train hop or ride the rails?
We used to put pennies on the track, and they would turn into the size of 50-cent pieces when the train would go by and run over them. I mean, we got yelled at. My grandma speaks, "You kids get away from that railroad. He's gonna kill you." You know? Oh my gosh. No, I didn't do any train hopping. My dad, the World War II veteran, was killed by a train.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Grand Trunk and Western train.
No. Sorry to hear that. No. So, an interesting fact about you I learned, I didn't know this, that you originally played bass, but you switched to guitar. And ultimately, that transition may have helped define Grand Funk's heavy, raw, and loud sound in the early 70s. And you sort of hear it on songs like Inside Looking Out, Shining On, Foot Stomp Music, so many more. But you guys had sort of a unique sound for the time. It was powerful hard rock. And, bands like Van Halen, Kiss, Metallica, and so many other artists cite you as an influence. So how do you feel knowing that your style of guitar playing and your music and your song inspired future generations of musicians?
I think it's great, dude. I'm very proud of that people picked up on like Sin's a Good Man's Brother. Like some guy sent me a link, a friend of mine sent me a link, and he says, "Is this really how you play this?" And there's some guy teaching people who would watch how to play Sin's a Good Man's Brother. The only trouble was he had the wrong chords. And then not only did he play that song on YouTube, I saw where it was listed all these people. I sat an hour and a half listening to different people's rendition of Sin's a Good Man's Brother. It was on and on, and I didn't get through half of them. I mean, seriously, there's something to it. I can only thank God for my instinct and that I played tuba in the 5th grade in the school band. And that was my basis for the bass. And when I played bass in Terry Knight in the Pack, I rocked that bass. And a lot of the bass lines, as you mentioned, are my bass lines. Because Mel would ask me, well, what do you hear on this song? Like, you know, to the Sin's a Good Man's Brother is one, but uh, oh God, I'm trying to think of boom, 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 boom. If any, I mean, that's my baseline. That's where I come from. It's a funky thing that makes you want to dance, but then I can play the guitar over it with chords that make sense. And because when I write a song, I'm hearing all the instruments, and I really hear where the bass needs to set. And between Mark Slaughter and myself, we put that bass where it needed to set in this album.
Yeah, totally. So, Grand Funk famously sold out Shea Stadium in Queens, New York, faster than the Beatles did in 72 hours. If you look over my right shoulder, this side, you'll see the poster behind me. So I have to thank you, Mark. So at that New Jersey show 2 years ago, I had it signed when I saw the other version of Grand Funk by Mel and Don, and I brought the poster and I handed it to your roadie after the show was over, and he walked it back to you and he signed it, and it's proudly displayed behind me. So I thank you for that. But at what moment did you realize you were making history, or maybe you didn't? Was it just another gig to you?
Oh no, it was historical. And when we flew over the stadium in that helicopter and looked down, and Walt, the bleachers were going like this. It was, I could see it from way the hell up there in the air. I could watch the stadium. They were rocking. Humble Pie, the stage was set up at second base, and that half circle stadium, those the singing, those fans were so enthusiastic. They were making so much noise. When we took the stage, it was almost like pandemonium. You couldn't hear anything. And then when we started playing and we got to I'm Your Captain, and they started singing the song back to me, I'm getting those goosebumps again right now, telling you about it, brother. That's never going to leave me. I knew that it was something at the time, but I just didn't know how big it was.
Was that show recorded? Are there tapes out there sitting in some warehouse?
There is, and I speculate that the reason they haven't been released is it evidences who was the front man of that show, who was the front man of that band, who wrote every song that we played that night. Just saying, just saying.
Yeah. Well, listen, I was born June 1970 when the album came out. So you can imagine I was 0 years old when I'm Your Captain was released, but I'm 54 now, and I have this fantasy of reliving that show. So I hope someday it sees the light of day. But Mark,
Yeah.
Grand Funk, I mean, you guys have had, look at it, 5 top 10 hits, 2 number 1 hits. You've had covers that did well, The Locomotion, Some Kind of Wonderful, your song Bad Time. I mean, there was crossover appeal here too, because you got away from, let's say, some of those like heavier rock songs, and you kind of had success with these unlikely hits. But maybe for you, what's one moment in the band's history that still gives you chills if you think about it?
Well, I think that Bad Time, 1975, Jimmy Einer produced it, and he had a great knack for getting the vocals where they needed to be in the mix. And well, Some Kind of Wonderful. Listen to those vocals; they're right where they needed to be in the mix. Bad Time, it needed to be up front, and Einer did it. And that song I got an award from BMI for having that song having been played more than any other song that year. Way more. Even the one that the song that went to number one, they couldn't hold a candle to the amount of times Bad Time was played. So even though it didn't go to number one, it got played a lot more than the one that did. So that's, to me, and my plaque of having that song, that's a great feat. That is something that I'm very proud of. And as you say, it's not the heavy rock thing that we were able to cross over, and I was able to sing it with the meaning in my heart, the meaning from my soul, and people got it, man.
Yeah. So for more information on Mark Farner, head over to markfarner.com for all of his information and links to his socials. So Mark, before I let you go, what's in store for the American band this year? You going to hit the road at all? You got any tour dates this year?
Yeah, we got tour dates coming up, and we just got done with the Rock and Romance cruise 2-3 weeks ago that we were out. And we went from Fort Lauderdale over to Cozumel, Mexico, and did a couple of shows. But I'm going to tell you something, man. We were playing on the upper deck. It was 45-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh, wow.
It took my hat off and wow, out into the audience. And I'm going, oh, man. They passed it back up to me. Oh, I was so
beautiful,
grateful. Yeah, it was a beautiful thing. But the band is chomping at the bits. We're playing the new music. Anymore is in the set. We're pushing that single because it's got love in it. It's got forgiveness, and people loved it, man. They really loved that song live, man. And we've got we're got so many years left, and as long as we can play and sing the songs in the same keys, and long as we are drawing crowds, man, we're going to be there.
Oh, that's good. Well, I hope you get back this way again, Jersey, New York. I'll be out there, and I would love to meet you, shake your hand, and say hi, man, after having this awesome discussion.
Yeah, man. Same here, Walt. I appreciate you, brother. And I just want to commend you on your energy. It's always up, Walt. I appreciate that because it helps me to respond to somebody with such energy that and you're reaching in and grabbing something. It's not like, if you want to say something, go ahead. No, it's like, Walt, you're reaching in there. I love that, dude.
Thank you so much, Mark. Mark, that's the nicest compliment you could pay me. And with every discussion, it's a relationship. We're here for an hour together, but we got a bond. It's a relationship, and it's a two-way street, right? So thank you the same.
You got the right questions. You got the right heart, brother.
Oh, thank you so much. We put a lot of work into our show, and we prepare like it's, every episode's the best next episode. You know what I'm saying?
Amen, brother. Well, all right. Can't wait to meet you in person.
Yeah, sounds good. That will happen at some point. For my guest today, Mark Farner of Grand Funk Railroad, I'm Metal Walt, and this is Metal Mayhem ROC.
Metal for life.
Thank you for listening to Metal Mayhem ROC. Check out our website at metalmayhemroc.com for information on podcasts, archives, links to all our live radio shows, and all sorts of info. Please like, follow, and share with everyone, even your non-metal friends. And always remember to keep it heavy.